I was spending $300,000 a month to be a sugar daddy to a broke college girl. Yet, as I passed her university, I saw Anna in another man's arms, her eyes red and pitiful as she murmured, "Don't think I'm dirty." Fury burned through me. What was that supposed to mean? Our arrangement was mutually beneficial, and she acted like I had tainted her. Fine. If she thought it was dirty, others wouldn't mind. I stubbed out my cigarette and spotted a flashy college girl in knockoff designer clothes. The next second, I told my driver, "Ask her if she's looking for a sugar daddy." Chapter 1. Lisa was brought to my office one afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows on the 32nd floor, casting a glow on her Balenciaga crop-top hoodie, Chanel skirt, and Louis Vuitton shoes. Fake. Fake. And fake again. But still, she had a good face. Unlike Anna, who had that cold, aloof beauty, Lisa looked like a mass-produced cosmetic surgery template. Refined, cheap, with a hint of overdone glamour. But I've had too much of the finest dishes. Today I just wanted a taste of something more unpolished. At the end of the day, they were all selling themselves. Why should I pick someone who acted like she was being forced into it? The moment she opened her mouth, I knew I had made the right choice. I heard, "You want to be my sugar daddy?" she asked. "Are we just skipping the formalities?" Now that's efficiency. But I wasn't into that game. I could already see how this would play out. Tonight she'd get me to sponsor her debut. Tomorrow she'd want me to hook her up with industry connections. By the day after, she'd be exposed for having a sponsor and would come begging me to cover up the scandal. The script was just right. Ignoring her, I flipped through the file that Secretary Lee had handed me. Lisa, born and raised in a small town, not exactly poor, certainly better off than Anna, whose father was an alcoholic and whose mother gambled away everything. Academically, she was average, worse than Anna. But physically, she was taller, more striking. I glanced up at her. She responded with an exaggeratedly seductive smile. Pretty? Yes. But a little too seasoned. I curled my lips in mild disdain. "How many have you been with?" I asked. Lisa's expression remained perfectly composed, no hint of shame or offense. "Just you," she said. "Bullshit." "Secretary Lee will take you to the hospital for a full checkup," I said. "If everything's fine, come see me in a week." "Got it, bro," she replied cheerfully. She practically skipped out of the office. As she turned, I caught sight of her perky backside. I paused for a couple of seconds, wondering, had she patted it? Chapter 2. A week later. Lisa hadn't shown up yet, but Anna did. She was wearing a plain white dress and a pair of faded canvas. Sneakers, pure and innocent, the perfect picture of a struggling campus beauty. She stepped off a public bus, unwilling to even take a cab. I had no idea where my monthly $300,000 was going. Don't get me wrong, she wasn't here to see me. I was always the one going to her. She was here to work part-time at the cafe downstairs, from my office. And as usual, her delicate looks attracted plenty of guys asking for her number. Anna turned them all down, saying she already had someone she liked. Back then, I would have confidently assumed she meant me. After all, I was rich and generous. The last part mattered the most. What was the difference between not liking me and not liking money? It wasn't like I was asking for some earth-shattering love story. We were adults. She had taken so much from me. Wasn't a little affection the bare minimum? I stepped into the cafe and casually found a seat. Anna didn't notice me. Then, a McLaren pulled up outside. The door opened, and in walked a suave, well-dressed man. Anna saw him immediately, her body tensing up like a startled rabbit. The man was decked out in luxury brands, with a Patek Philippe on his wrist. Classic rich second gen. Last time at the university, I hadn't gotten a good look at him. Now that I saw his face clearly, I ran through my mental database of C-City's elite circles but couldn't place him. While I was lost in thought, Anna's face flushed completely red. She hesitantly asked, "Did you come to see me?" The man tilted his chin slightly and said, "No, I just heard the coffee here is good." Anna's lashes trembled. If she had a tail, it would have drooped right then. The man continued, Why don't you recommend something? Anna immediately brightened, her voice sweet as she started introducing the entire menu. She went into detail, explaining each bean's origin, its flavor profile, everything. The people waiting behind him lost patience and left, but the man barely seemed to listen. He casually ordered the house special. Anna then eagerly asked if he wanted to try a cake she had baked herself. She was acting nothing like she did around me, utterly humble, willing to please. I wasn't angry, just curious. Why didn't she act this way with me? I was the one paying her. A moment later, it hit me, and I chuckled. She probably thought that her youth, along with the apartment and countless gifts I'd given her, was a fair trade. I had seen plenty of college girls and actresses with sponsors, even professionals. Just a few days ago, my uncle nearly got a girl pregnant and had to pay $3 million to settle things. A sponsor as generous and not repulsive as me? Hard to find. But a mutually consensual matter doesn't mean you didn't take advantage. I had spoiled Anna, so I hadn't cared about the money. But she had taken it and still stood me up multiple times. One time it was tutoring, another time it was a student council meeting. Then she had a lab project. I never got mad. I even had my housekeeper make soup and send it to her. Once my father saw me doing that and assumed I was in love, warning me, don't get too deep. The way I indulged Anna made everyone believe I had serious feelings for her. Funny. For a time, even I had thought so. Before I kicked my brother overseas and secured my managerial position, I had never been in a relationship. Not that I ever intended to. Bored, I got up and left the cafe. As I pushed open the door, the bell above it jingled softly. I felt someone behind the counter glance over. That night, Lisa arrived at my villa. To my surprise, her medical report was spotless, perfectly healthy, not even a minor issue. Unlike last time, where she had been covered in fake designer brands, today she was dressed simply. A white knit cardigan over a matching tank top, a tiered skirt, and sneakers. The voluminous curls were gone, replaced with sleek, straight black hair. Probably Secretary Lee's idea. She had been styled to look just like Anna. I frowned, about to say something, but before I could, Lisa slipped off her cardigan, leaving only the tank top underneath. Her curves were impossible to ignore. Were they real? She giggled. Brother, do you not like how I dressed today? I don't like it either. She laughed again and strolled over boldly, grabbing my hand and pressing it against her softness. My whole body tensed up, instinctively yanking my hand back. For a moment, I almost felt like I was the one being taken advantage of. She playfully tied her hair into a ponytail. I exhaled, finally relaxing. And then, Brother, I'm hungry. Will you cook some noodles for me? I nearly choked on air. She glanced toward the kitchen, where the housekeeper had just taken out the trash. Looks like lunch is over. I hesitated. There's still some noodles in the kitchen. I can ask the housekeeper to... Before I could finish, she chirped, Thank you. She even justified herself, saying, I need to be full so I can serve you properly later. I was speechless. Then she cooked herself a massive bowl of noodles and scarfed it down in record time. I recalled her background. She wasn't poor enough to be starving, was she? There's steak in the fridge, I offered. Lisa shook her head. No need. You don't get paid before doing the job, right? I understood her meaning. For once, I actually felt satisfied with my decision. This was the kind of girl I should have gone for from the start, one who was committed to the role. 30 minutes later, I regretted everything. Her perfume lingered in the air. That initial sense of unfamiliarity had long since burned away. Lisa didn't forget to add value either. Brother, you're amazing. Brother, you're incredible. Brother, I'm gonna ascend. Brother, don't stop. You're too good at this. I felt cheap, like I had picked up some streetwise girl from the nightlife scene. The next morning, I barely managed to croak. Should we stop here for now? She pouted. Why, brother? Are you not satisfied with my service? I shook my head. That's not it. Her eyes lit up. Oh, you're feeling exhausted? No problem. I brought supplements. I guarantee you'll have a great time. For the love of... Who was actually having a great time here? Finally, at 2 p.m., I dragged myself out of bed, holding my waist. I had an important meeting. No way around it. I had to crawl to the office if needed. As I got dressed, Lisa casually asked, "Brother, can you help me get into the entertainment industry?" Chapter 3. My fingers paused on the buttons of my shirt. Then I rolled my eyes. "You've been here once and you're already asking for favors," Lisa pouted. "Then let's do it many more times. Come on." I was speechless. "That's not what I meant." Rejected, her doll-like face immediately deflated. Scrunching her nose, she accused, "But you're the one who said you were tired." Her logic was truly something else. If I hadn't met her at the university, I'd wonder if she had ever been educated at all. Wait, just because I met her there didn't mean she was actually studying there. I casually asked, "Are you a student at C University?" Lisa shook her head honestly. "Nope." Figures. I blurted out, "In a couple of years, I'll send you abroad to get a degree." She hesitated. "Brother, I don't want to study." Of course, she didn't. She just wanted to break into the entertainment industry. I waved her off before she could say more. "I have a meeting to attend." I got into the car where Secretary Lee was already waiting. Glancing back, I saw Lisa leaning over the balcony waving at me. Black hair cascading over her shoulders, a face that was both innocent and seductive. Sunlight cast a golden glow over her like a scene from a Roman myth. Even her outfit was carefully curated. A lot of effort. "Brother, come back early, okay?" I sighed and rubbed my temples. No one could ever know I had sponsored someone like her. As I reviewed my documents, I said, "Secretary Lee, order a few exclusive spring wang pieces for her." She wasn't meant to play the fragile, innocent type like Anna. And those fake designer brands she always wore? Embarrassing. Secretary Lee hesitated for a second, then agreed. After the meeting, after dealing with a room full of old men, I was exhausted, slumping into my office chair. Work had never drained me like this before. Must have been the lack of sleep. The Wang family was like most wealthy clans. My parents had an arranged marriage, did their own thing, but maintained a cordial relationship. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had 3 kids. A useless eldest brother, a pathetic little brother, and then there was me, the perfect one. My life had been pre-planned from birth. If I wanted more, I had to fight for it. And I did. But was this really what I wanted? Brother. I flinched. Lost in thought, I hadn't noticed someone crawling out from under my desk. "What are you doing?" I asked blankly. Lisa tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and tied it back into a ponytail. I stared at her expressionless. For once, her flawless face turned a little red, shy yet utterly shameless. "I just learned this in the afternoon," she said. "I heard CEOs and secretaries love playing like this." How motivated. Lisa took my silence as consent. Outside, clouds drifted lazily through the sky. For a brief moment, I wondered, who was sponsoring who here? Ah, whatever. She really wanted to make it an entertainment. 3 hours later, the phone rang. Secretary Lee's voice came through. "Mr. Wang, Miss Xu is here." Now that was unexpected. It was our usual weekly meeting time. Not unusual for Anna to come looking for me. But considering how often she flaked, and that it was already 11 p.m., it was surprising. I lit a cigarette and said, "Tell her I'm busy. She can leave." "Secretary..." Lee hesitated. "I already told her that. She insists on waiting until you're done. She's in the conference room next door." I frowned, about to respond when Lisa suddenly leaned over and took a drag from my cigarette, off my fingers. Then she immediately choked, coughing like she was about to pass out. I hung up the phone. Lisa wheezed, "Brother, you should stop smoking." For a second, I thought she was about to start acting like some delicate, caring girlfriend. Then, "You should switch to cigars. It looks cooler." Ash crumbled onto the marble floor. I sighed. "Go home. I have things to handle." She didn't. Asked questions, just patted her butt and left. Anna entered, Same plain white dress. I was getting tired of the look. She stood before me, voice laced with accusation. James, I got fired. She thought I was behind it. After all, I owned that cafe, where she had been working for a very generous $5,000 a month. I raised a brow. And? Anna's face darkened, still acting entitled. Frustrated, she demanded, Did someone at the shop tell you something? Nathan is just my senior. I was only doing my job as a barista. You can't just fire me over nothing. You rich people always act so high and mighty. I cut her off. I'll have them rehire you. She froze. She hadn't expected me to agree. So easily. She stammered, Then, that's fine. I chuckled. Same salary as the other interns. $3,000 a month. Deal. Anna's eyes widened like I had just insulted her. She was silent for a few seconds before saying, James, really? I already told you, I'm not in a relationship with Nathan. Annoyance flickered across her face. I studied her, suddenly finding her underwhelming. Her skin wasn't as smooth as Lisa's. Her eyes weren't as bright. Her lips weren't as rosy. Her nose wasn't as defined. Her legs weren't as long. And well, let's just say, she wasn't as gifted. Not to mention her skills were pretty mediocre. Not that Lisa was that much better, but at least she was willing to learn. I smirked. Nathan. The name sounded foreign, almost Japanese. I muttered it once, and Anna immediately panicked. You better not do anything to him, she shouted. I suddenly found the whole thing hilarious. Casually, I asked, What do you think I'd do? Anna wasn't listening anymore. Her eyes had drifted to something in the room. Her expression went completely blank. Following her gaze, I spotted it too. Lying quietly on the couch, a pink Victoria's secret thong innocently resting there, having just overheard our entire conversation. Chapter 4. Everyone knows that when people are beyond speechless, they tend to laugh. Anna finally turned to look at me, and then she saw the smile on my face. A moment ago, she had been keeping her distance, acting as if she wanted nothing to do with me. Now she stormed right up to me, biting her lip. James, you're unbelievable. Just because I didn't come to see you for a month, you went and found that kind of woman. I wanted to say that Lisa wasn't that kind of woman, but I couldn't, because she was. The fearless, poverty-stricken campus beauty Anna suddenly got. Teary-eyed, choking back a sob, she said, Do you have any idea how dirty women like that are? Her voice was loud. She grabbed my arm in a panic, the first time she had ever lost her composure like this. As if she was genuinely afraid I'd caught something. A glass cup on the table crashed to the floor. There was a knock at the door. Secretary Lee's voice came through. Mr. Wang, would you like me to come in? Anna was still rambling. James, if you think finding another woman is going to make me jealous, you're disgusting. Don't think this will make me love you. I had enough. Gripping her wrist, I pried her fingers off me and shoved her away. Then I called out, Come in. Secretary Lee entered with 2 bodyguards. Fixing my sleeves, I said, Send Miss Chu home. Anna stared at me in disbelief. I, on the other hand, smiled at her, though there was no warmth in it. And who gave you permission to talk to me like that? Maybe as a sponsor, I'd been too lenient. She had completely forgotten what we were. Anna's face drained of color. She had never expected me to speak to her this way. Pressing her lips together, she muttered, We're equals. I didn't even want to hear that nonsense. So equal, huh? Then where's my $300,000 a month? Anna fell silent. I raised a brow. You took the money. You didn't do the job. She looked stunned, as if she had never heard me be so blunt. I had no interest in entertaining this conversation any longer. Getting up, I left. Anna tried to follow, but the bodyguards blocked her path. Without a backward glance, I walked away. Behind me, Secretary Lee retrieved the elevator access card from Anna and added, Miss Xu, next time please schedule an appointment with Mr. Wang. 2 months later. I hadn't bought Lisa an apartment, because she had simply moved into my villa and never left. Now I lay sprawled out like a dead man, completely drained. Lisa lit a cigar for me. I said, "I'll send you into the entertainment industry." But for once, Lisa didn't look thrilled. Instead, she leaned down, took a soft bite at the corner of my lips, and I shivered. "Thank you, brother," Lisa said sweetly. "But there's no rush. I still want to stay with you for a few more days." I was in a rush. I didn't want to wait. I was on the verge of being drained dry. 2 months ago, she had been eager to leave. That day, I handed her a card, 300 grand deposited into it every month. But Lisa refused. Instead, she said, "Brother, I don't want your money. I want you to send me into acting." Well, damn. She actually understood the whole teachow. A man-to-fish concept. She really did get lucky latching on to me. The entertainment industry was a deep, murky pool. Tech tycoons, real estate moguls, and nouveau riche weren't enough to dominate it. But the Wang family had long since planted their stake in it. We owned a major talent agency, one of the big three. At the time, I told her, "Depends on how you perform." Now I regretted it. The cigar slipped from my fingers, landing on the carpet. As I bent to pick it up, the blanket covering me slid off, and in the next moment, an arm coiled around me. "Brother." Lisa's eyes shimmered with a seductive glow as her legs wrapped around me again. I stopped her. She pouted, looking confused. Forcing an awkward laugh, I tried to change the topic. "Don't you have anything else to do?" She had been stuck to me for 2 whole months. If she wasn't doing yoga, she was glued to her phone, studying certain videos that shouldn't be studied. I had half a mind to ask if she still needed to go to school. But then I remembered. She wasn't the studious type. I struggled for an excuse. Then finally I found one. "Shouldn't you go get some maintenance done for your face?" Lisa rubbed her cheeks. "Brother, it's all real. You can feel it." Before I could react, she grabbed my hand and guided it to her nose, then to her lips, then to her neck. Then to her, I yanked my hand away. Okay, I get it. It's all real." I understood now. She had tasted pleasure, and now she wasn't in a rush for the entertainment industry anymore. She was more interested in me. No way. Even Secretary Lee had started giving me strange looks. Her face practically had, "The Emperor has abandoned his duties" written all over it. I pinched Lisa's cheek and said, "I'll take you to meet a few directors tonight." That night, I introduced Lisa to a romance drama director. Director Zhao was polite. "Mr. Wang's sister. Of course, I'll take good care of her." Then he asked, "Which year are you in?" Lisa smiled sweetly. "2nd year of college." I did. Not expose her fake credentials. She auditioned on the spot. The role she was offered, the 3rd female lead. The audition scene, a girl who, after falling for the male lead, decides to lock him in a basement. She had to show both infatuation and a yandere obsession. Since the script wasn't finalized, she had to improvise her lines. I graciously stepped in as the stand-in for the male lead. I sat on the couch. Lisa knelt at my feet. The director called out, "Action!" In an instant, that obedient, sugary demeanor disappeared. Her soft, alluring eyes darkened into something possessive. She narrowed them slightly, running her fingers along my hand, rubbing it gently against her cheek. Our eyes locked. Her expression was full of hurt. She whispered, "Do you have to like that woman named Anna? Am I not enough?" I had no lines, just had to sit there like a block of wood. But Lisa heard my imagined rejection loud and clear. She bit her lip, gaze filled with resentment. "Brother, she has such a bad temper. She always throws tantrums at you. But I only want to take care of you. James, haven't I served you better than her?" She stared straight into my eyes, jealousy burning in her gaze. Chapter 5. Director Zhao said Lisa's acting was average. Too over the top. She didn't feel like a yandere, more like a desperate mistress. But she was too pretty, so he let it slide. The night before, she joined the crew. I locked her out. She knocked on the door and said, "Brother, I want to thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to enter the entertainment industry." I replied, "If you really want to thank me, give me a quiet night." Lisa pouted. But I'm leaving tomorrow. I'll be filming for 3 months. You won't see me. She refused to leave. I pretended not to hear her. Finally, silence. 3 hours later, I opened the door. Lisa was curled up against it, hugging a pillow, nearly toppling over. She blinked awake, and before I could react, she darted past me into the room, straight onto my bed. She snuggled under the blanket and said, "Brother, I won't do anything. Just let me hold you and sleep." I was speechless. I thought I was about to be drained dry again. But for once, she was surprisingly well-behaved. The next morning, the driver took Lisa to the airport. Right before she left, she slipped out of her pink Victoria's Secret underwear. Just as I was about to tell her off, she threw it at my head. Dazed, I glared at her. Lisa leaned in and kissed me. "Brother, if you miss me, come visit. And if it gets urgent, use that." I didn't respond, just pulled the blanket over my head and went back to sleep. 1 month later. To my surprise, Lisa sent me a gift. Not once had I gone to visit her. I had answered a few of her calls but was always too busy to talk for more than a minute. The gift was an orange cat plush. The stitching was awful, childish, cheap, and ugly. Still, it was the first time I had ever received a gift from someone I was involved with. Usually I was the one giving them. Like with Anna, she always accepted. Them without hesitation. Never gave anything in return. One Valentine's Day, I actually asked her about it. At a high-end restaurant, after gifting her $1 million necklace, I asked, "Do you have something for me?" Anna frowned. "Do you need me to give you something? You already have everything." Her tone wasn't great. Secretary Lee had told me her father had beaten her mother again. Her mother had come to campus begging for money. I understood her mood and let it slide. Now the cat plush stared at me with beady eyes. Something about it felt familiar, but I couldn't quite place it. Looking at it made me feel a little guilty for not visiting. Just as I debated whether to go, Anna called me. Rare. Unlike Lisa, who called 3 times a day, Anna rarely took the initiative. I answered but said nothing. She was silent for a long time, too. Realizing I wouldn't speak first, she finally said, "I accept your apology. Let's make up." I didn't get it. Then I glanced at the calendar and understood instantly. Today was Anna's birthday. Luxury brands must have started sending her gifts by now, all arranged by me. Anna said, "I really liked that restaurant last time. Let's have dinner there tonight." She hesitated, then added, "A few of my senior lab mates will be joining too." I cut her off. "I forgot to tell Secretary Lee to cancel it." She paused. "What?" I said, "Consider those gifts as a breakup fee." Last time I saw Anna, I had been too distracted to make things clear. I wasn't interested in playing the breakup-makeup game. Our relationship wasn't even that enjoyable. Honestly, I had lost more than I gained, but I was a generous sponsor. I wouldn't take back what I had given. Lesson learned. Next time, I wouldn't be too generous. Too much, and people start getting delusions. Anna struggled to accept my words. Angrily, she snapped, "James, are you jealous? Is it her? Did that woman get in your head?" "I'm telling you, she's only after your money." Then suddenly it clicked. The fabric of the orange cat plush. It was from Lisa's favorite limited edition nightgown. She had cut it up and turned it into a stuffed animal. I picked up the Y plush and examined it closely. Uneven stitching, exposed knots. Did Lisa actually sew this herself? Interesting. Anna was still talking. I wasn't listening. I hung up and told Secretary Lee to prepare for a set visit. Private jet, business car, straight to the filming location. I arrived just in time. Lisa was filming a scene with the male lead. Her gaze was full of love. She was acting well. The male lead, on the other hand, was clearly someone's industry plant. Not a professional actor. He kept messing up. 3 takes in. His expressions were still stiff. But Lisa didn't get mad. She patiently encouraged him. A staff member beside me whispered excitedly, "So sweet, so sweet." Then Lisa turned her head and saw me. Chapter 6. To be fair, Lisa actually had decent acting skills. That first audition, whether she was holding back or just inexperienced, I couldn't tell. But today, as she played a villainous supporting role, she was completely in her element. Just like when she played my little lover. Materialistic, obedient, with just a hint of real affection in her eyes. Exactly as I had imagined. Lisa pulled me into her private van. After yet another round of battle, I once again surrendered unconditionally. Seeing her immediately tie up her hair and prepare to lower her head, I quickly pinched the back of her neck. She tilted her head. "Brother, are we trying something new?" I was speechless. Sometimes being too experienced wasn't necessarily a good thing. It lacked that sense of shyness. Noticing my lack of enthusiasm, Lisa quietly put her clothes back on. She pouted. "Why did you take so long to visit me?" 30% complaint, 30% acting coy, and the rest was pure performance. "When did you arrive?" she asked. "Right when you said, 'Can't you tell that I love you?' to the male lead." Lisa's eyes widened in panic. "You saw him hug me?" "Brother, don't be mad. It's just acting. I even used a body double for the kissing scenes." Olivia arranged everything for me. I lazily brushed my fingers across her face. "Do you have any more scenes today?" She quickly shook her head. "The moment I saw you, I asked the director to push them back." She wasn't even famous yet and already learning how to act like a diva. I could already picture her future. Not quite a superstar, but always wrapped up in scandals. She tested the waters. "Then today, should we go out and eat something good?" Massaging my shoulders, she added, "Brother, are you tired? How about a movie first?" So we watched a movie. Secretary Lee booked the entire theater. We strolled along the streets. Bodyguards followed 100 meters behind, played a round of golf, finally returned to the hotel suite. I showered and brushed my teeth. Of course, even if I hadn't, she wouldn't dare complain. She was taking my money after all. That was the best thing about a sponsorship arrangement. I could do whatever I wanted. I could take out my frustrations on her. I didn't have to care about her feelings. From behind, Lisa wrapped her arms around me. "Brother, I closed my eyes. "I don't." She clung to my arm, acting spoiled. "Please, brother. It's been a month. I'm about to overflow." I was too exhausted to argue. Somewhere between my dazed thoughts, a realization hit me. Why did this feel like a relationship? That wouldn't do. I should buy her a wooden fish to knock on. Buddhism says one must seek inner peace. Lisa's costume drama, 8 Lives, 8 Loves, premiered. The drama flopped. Lisa blew up, completely unexpected. She was suddenly swamped with publicity, variety show invitations, and online buzz. Fans praised her overly perfected features as part of the intense beauty trend. Despite her sultry face, she dressed modestly, top buttons fastened all the way up, skirts past the knees. Her team crafted an image, rich heiress bravely stepping into the entertainment industry. Somehow not a single elementary school friend, middle school classmate, or old coworker had come forward to expose her yet. I called Secretary Lee. Be ready to suppress any scandals for Lisa if needed. After work, I ran into Anna. I looked her up and down. This wasn't a coincidence. Anna looked exhausted, but her gaze was softer than usual. She said, "James, I don't know why, but these past few months I keep thinking about you." Her cheeks flushed slightly. I knew exactly why. Recalling the reports, I remembered Nathan was Anna's senior at university. When Secretary Lee first told me, I was puzzled. This wasn't ancient China. Why was there such a rigid hierarchy between students? I had studied abroad, so I wasn't familiar with the deeply ingrained academic cliques here. Anna's lab was notorious for overworking students. She was no exception, often turning to Nathan for help. Over time, they got close, but there had been no romantic entanglement. Until last Valentine's Day, Nathan suddenly became interested in her. Unlike me, he didn't throw money at her. Unlike my younger brother David, he didn't shamelessly pursue her. Nathan had technique. Secretary Lee reported that he had even paid for some online course on dating strategies. I told Lee to sign David up for one too. That simp had never successfully courted a girl. He needed it. At the time, I didn't understand why Nathan had suddenly taken a liking to Anna. Until I found out Anna had sold the Van Cleef & Arpels necklace I had given her. Then I understood. She was investing in Nathan. With my money. I laughed out of sheer disbelief. But ever since we parted ways, Anna had stopped receiving luxury gifts from major brands. Her money from me had mostly gone to Nathan and clearing her family's debts. She had given away most of the designer clothes I bought her long ago. She had given everything away. To her roommates, her best friends, her classmates, her fellow lab mates. When she was with me, she had gotten used to receiving these things. She never cared for them, thought they were just materialistic vanity with no real value. I never cared how she handled the things I gave her. But learning about it now still left me speechless for a few seconds. Anna stood before me. Her skin was no longer smooth, her complexion duller, her brows unkempt. She carried a heavy scent, the scent of hard work, the scent of the working class. Why had I even been interested in Anna back then? I tried to recall. At the time, my eldest brother and I were locked in a brutal fight for power. My father sided with him. My mother remained neutral. Only David supported me. Not that his support meant much. I worked myself to the point of a stomach ulcer trying to secure projects. One night, I was crouched on the street clutching my stomach when I met Anna, carrying trays at a restaurant. She dropped everything and sent me to the hospital. As she helped me up, I caught the scent of preserved egg and pork congee on her. When Secretary Lee arrived, she handed Anna 8,000 won as a thank you. 2 years later, I became the general manager, the sole heir of the Wang family empire. One night, I suddenly craved congee. That's when I remembered Anna. The next day, I saw her teaching at the villa next door. David had been crashing at my place, sulking over another failed confession. When he noticed me looking at Anna for a beat too long, he nudged me. The cold CEO and the poor campus beauty. What a perfect story. But I had never dated before, and I didn't want to be like David, licking the ground for a woman with no dignity. So I chose another way. A common way among wealthy families. That's how I approached Anna. At first, to avoid hurting her pride, I disguised the money as a scholarship. Then I arranged another tutoring job for her, $10,000 a month, teaching David calculus. When David ran off, that's when it became $30,000 straight to her account. She looked extremely uncomfortable when she first accepted the card. I changed the subject at the right time. Now the money that once made Anna feel dirty was gone. She wasn't used to it. So she thought of me. It was that simple. I smiled at her. You don't miss me. You miss my money. A flicker of humiliation crossed Anna's gaze. She snapped, James, why are you insulting me? Back then, you were the one who came to me. You were the one who wanted to be with me. I never asked you to do this. I raised a brow. So do you want me to apologize? Anna froze, like a chicken suddenly strangled by the neck. Her eyes widened, her voice cut off. She stared at me blankly, then after a long pause muttered, James, do you know I was the only one who didn't love you for your money? Before leaving, she tossed a photograph onto the table. In the picture, Lisa was walking into a private club, next to a man wearing a thick gold chain. Chapter 7. I had Secretary Lee send Anna a message, $5 million to buy that photo. Anna replied, Why would you go this far for her? I flicked the ash off my cigarette. Because I had always known what kind of person Lisa was. It was just a sponsorship. She took care of me well. I never cared who she had been with before. But Anna clearly couldn't accept that. She blocked Secretary Lee. The next day, that photo was all over the internet. It spread like wildfire. Lisa had just gotten famous. And as fans put it, she had taken a bite out of too many waiting to explode starlets' cakes. Any dirt on her and the smear campaigns would rush in like a tidal wave. That night, when Lisa came home, I was making steak. Butter sizzling. The range. Hood barely making a sound. The Maillard reaction giving the meat a perfect crust. The rich, smoky aroma filled the kitchen. Lisa must have known she messed up. She hugged me from behind, rubbing against my back like a little cat. She murmured, "Brother, did you see?" I exhaled slowly. I had actually doubted the photo's authenticity at first. But Secretary Lee checked. It wasn't edited. She even traced the source. Anna had received it in an envelope, but Lisa had always told me I was her first sponsor. Secretary Lee had looked into her past as well. That small county she came from was too far. I hadn't bothered sending Lee all the way there for something so minor. But since arriving in Sea City, Lisa had only ever been with me. So I hadn't really believed it. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Until now. Lisa hesitated, then admitted, "Brother, I didn't mean to lie to you." It was real. She had lied. I wasn't her first sponsor. I took a deep breath, steadying my emotions. I said, "Let's eat first." Pulling her hands off me, I headed to the dining table. Lisa froze, then pressed her lips together. "Brother, are you upset?" I shook my head. "No. Just feels a little dirty." Her pupils shrank. She stared at me in disbelief. She stammered, "Brother, what did you say?" Calmly, I cut into my steak. The news online, Secretary Lee is handling it. 2 bites in. On the third, she suddenly threw herself at me. I nearly dropped my plate. Her voice broke as she cried, "Brother, how could you call me dirty? How could you say that?" Tears filled her eyes, and as she choked on her sobs, she reached up and started tying her hair back. She muttered, "I'm different from them. I've always kept myself clean. I never went to those kinds of parties. Lisa!" I barked her name, grabbing her wrist to stop her. "Get up." She didn't move. I frowned. "Don't make me say it twice." Sniffling, she finally lifted her head and stared at me. Her perfect face, the one that marketing accounts raved about, was streaked with tears, her peach blossom eyes shimmering with little crystal beads. I was certain that if I dropped her now, she'd have a new sponsor by tomorrow. She whispered, "Brother, after you said you were tired last time, I learned a new position." And with that, she started taking off her coat. I caught her wrist, stopping her. "I'm eating first." Suppressing my irritation, I added, "I'm hungry." Lisa read my expression carefully, then reluctantly trudged up the stairs, face full of grievance. "Okay, brother, then I'll wait for you in the bedroom," Lisa said. I ate dinner alone. The steak didn't taste as good as yesterday's. It had come from the same morning air shipment from Australia, but somehow it just wasn't right. I remembered how Anna used to stand me up. Back then I didn't care, I was busy anyway, but today I was angry. I had indulged Anna time and time again. And now with Lisa, was I going to do the same? Just then I got a message from David. 3 voice notes in a row. He sounded frantic. "Emily arranged a marriage for me. Brother, I don't want to marry someone I've never even met. Who knows what her temper's like, what she looks like? After that last girl, I finally get it. Simps never end well. If I end up with some spoiled princess, I might as well just end it all now." I couldn't be bothered to reply. More messages kept coming. A long rant about some perfect little goddess and her endless flaws. I didn't listen. After finishing work in my study, it was almost 10 when I finally returned to the bedroom. There was a large lump on the bed, huddled up, shaking. I stood by the door and watched. Lisa was curled into a ball, trembling. She turned to look at me, eyes red and swollen like a pitiful little thing that had just been wronged. Tears and snot mixed on her face, but they did little to hide her exquisite features. If someone took a picture of this, it would definitely shut up those who claimed she had plastic surgery. I ran a hand over her head. Lisa immediately reached up to tie her hair back. I sighed, pushing her head away only for her to cling to me again. In short, exhausting. The next morning, smoking by the window, I glanced down at Lisa still asleep. She had cried herself into exhaustion. Outside, a small grove of trees swayed. The sun had yet to rise. Birds chirped their chatter, giving me a headache. "Brother." I looked down. She wasn't awake, talking in her sleep. "Brother." Curious? I leaned closer. She murmured, "Don't stop." I sighed. I went for a morning run, missing the moment Lisa turned over and whispered again, "Brother, I love you." 1 month later, just as I wrapped up a meeting, Secretary Lee called. "Mr. Wang, miss." "Lu," I frowned. "Didn't you take back her elevator card?" Secretary Lee sounded helpless. "She made copies." I gritted my teeth. "Have security throw her out." She hesitated. "She's already at your office door." A headache hit me instantly. The next second, Lisa walked in. If her face hadn't looked so miserable, I might have admired how stunning she was in those few steps. She was clearly dressed up, flawless makeup, black stockings. Before she could speak, I tapped my fingers on the desk. "Is the compensation not enough?" Lisa smiled. "Brother, is that what you think of me?" I said nothing. She asked, "What did I do wrong? What even I didn't know?" 1 month ago in the early morning, I came back from my run. Lisa, still half asleep, leaned in to kiss me. That's when I told her we were done. She snapped awake. "Brother, did I not perform well?" I shook my head. "I'm just tired of you, Lisa." She froze. Her playful fingers, which had been lazily tracing my hand, stopped. I left her with a simple, "Secretary Lee will contact you." Lisa came to see me a few times after that. She didn't want to let go. She kept asking why. That morning after my run, I simply didn't want to continue. Was there always a reason we weren't even in a relationship? Even relationships could end abruptly. I just wanted someone new. I looked at her now, still breathtaking. Even more polished thanks to a professional team. I didn't want to make this uglier than it had to be. I said, "Lisa, I chose you because you were clearer-headed than Anna." She fell silent. I stood up. "You're smart. Take the money and leave. Let's part on good terms." She countered. "And if I say no?" Lisa suddenly stepped closer. The familiar sweet scent of her perfume filled the space between us. She reached up, stood on her toes, and tried to kiss me. I immediately pushed her away. Frowning, I said, "Who gave you permission to do that?" "Lisa, know your place." Lisa rolled her eyes. Then, without hesitation, she leaned in again. Our lips met, wet, hot, lingering. And then, just as abruptly, she pulled away, turned around, and walked out without looking back, leaving me sitting there completely dumbfounded. Chapter 8. David was back to his simping ways. He actually brought his flashy, attention-seeking girlfriend to my villa. "She's different, bro," he said earnestly. "We met at a bar. She's never been in a relationship before. I'm her first love. She has tattoos, drinks clubs, and has 10 guy best friends, but she's a good girl." Then in my villa, they went through rounds of lovey-dovey nonsense, dramatic fights, and reconciliations. As expected, the girl didn't stay loyal for long. David caught her making out with another man. She said I was forced. He told her to report it to the police. She refused. The result, they got back together. I laughed. A few days later, they broke up again. David came to me in tears. This time, it's real. I didn't believe him. He insisted, "I swear it's real this time. I caught her booking a hotel room with another guy." I stayed silent. He continued, "Bro, I'm ready to go home and accept the arranged marriage." I set down my documents and raised a brow. "And what if your fiancé has had more partners than—" "You can count," David nodded without hesitation. "I can handle it. I don't even like her. I swear I'll never simp again." "Bro, you spilled your coffee." "Bro, what's wrong?" I snapped out of it. Coffee had dripped onto the ugly orange cat plush. That night I saw the latest gossip. Lisa was rumored to be dating a film emperor. They had been seen entering and leaving the same apartment. I turned off my phone. Didn't want to see it. I finally understood. Why was I fine with Anna flirting with other men, but I couldn't tolerate Lisa having a past sponsor? Why didn't I want to continue with Lisa? Because I wanted to continue with her. But understanding that didn't change anything. To her, I was just a sponsor. To me, she had become something more. Wasn't that the biggest joke, James Wang catching feelings for a sugar baby? I had my pride. David left to call our mother. When he came back, he looked annoyed. My fiancé sounds terrible, he complained. Dropped out of college halfway to chase an acting career. The Liu family didn't support her, so she went and found a sponsor. And now I have to marry her. The Liu family had most of their business overseas. They weren't even based in Sea City. I had never heard much about them, and my mother's original arrangement hadn't been with the Liu family. The next day I accompanied David to his arranged meeting. At an upscale restaurant I saw her, Lisa. She was standing next to a man wearing a thick gold chain. My mother introduced them. This is Richard and his sister Lisa. The smile on my face froze. David's eyes widened in excitement. Holy shit, bro, isn't she that super famous actress right now? She looks exactly like I thought. Totally not the good girl type. Wait, bro, where are you going? I turned and walked away. I need a smoke. When I returned, David and Lisa were deep in conversation. My mother and Richard had already left. David grinned. Bro, Lisa's actually really cool. Then turning to her, he said, This is my brother. You should start calling him brother too. Lisa smiled politely. Brother. A sharp pain pricked at my chest. That distant tone. I stood up. I need the restroom. In the mirror, I saw her reflection before she even spoke. Lisa strolled in casually. She was dressed in a cream-colored knit cardigan looking effortlessly elegant. The blue sapphire earrings on her ears glistened. She radiated wealth. Brother, she greeted, voice soft. It's been a while. I'm going to be your sister-in-law. Are you happy I didn't answer? I tried to walk past her, she grabbed my sleeve. Why won't you answer me? Suppressing my anger, I asked. What do you want me to say? Lisa chuckled. Then she suddenly changed the subject. How was my acting before the obedient little lover? I scoffed. Not bad. She tilted her head. Was it because I played the role too well that you thought I was disposable? She leaned in closer. Her peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. The familiar scent of her perfume clouded my thoughts. Just as I was about to lose control, she took a step back, putting distance between us. She smiled. Brother, don't forget to call me sister-in-law from now on. The restroom's scented air freshener made my head ache. I glanced at her. Then I said, No need to wait. I can call you that right now. Lisa's expression remained composed, but she bit her lip slightly. Just as I turned to leave, she suddenly threw herself into my arms. Chapter 9. Lisa clung to my neck, biting down as she let out a few muffled hums. She scoffed. You think I care about you? I frowned. Sister-in-law, ease up. Your canines are a bit sharp. Lisa froze for a second. Then she bit down harder, pinching my arm. She hissed, Don't think I can't let go. I just want revenge. You think I still like you? My phone slipped from my pocket. Right on cue, David sent me a voice message. Bro, I won't bother you and sis-in-law. I'm heading out. She asked me to find you, but she told me to keep it a secret, so don't tell her I told you. Lisa's body stiffened against me. For a second, a flash of embarrassment crossed her face. Then my phone rang. It was Ryan. Sir, that handmade orange cat plush of yours. I put it in the washing machine and something fell out. Lisa lunged for my phone. Don't listen to him, Ryan continued. There was a pink letter inside, looked like a love letter. Should I throw it away? I glanced at Lisa. Her face was bright red. A moment later, she gave up completely, tiptoeing up and planting a quick kiss on my lips. Into the phone, I said, Don't throw it away. Hanging up, I turned to Lisa. She was pouting, looking thoroughly displeased. She muttered, Now that you know, I was planning to let you act out a whole regretful reconciliation arc. Not a chance. I had a reputation to uphold. Lisa seemed to pick up on my thoughts, her expression turning smug. Brother, I need to punish you. I nodded easily. Sure. What could she possibly do? Just wear me out for a day or two at most. But then, Lisa smiled, her gaze full of meaning. Brother, I prepared 10 outfits and 10 pills. After that, I didn't see sunlight for a whole week.